Shabbat Shalom. Chodesh Tov. I met my wife just around this time of year. It was at the end of rabbinical school. So I received this email of introduction from my future sister-in-law, whom I knew. And I was in the midst of preparing for my end of rabbinical school thesis and the job search. And the truth was, I was dreading going into the pulpit single, without a supporting spouse, without a family. Of course, now the plight of rabbinical students dating is immemorialized by a Netflix show. Anyhow, I got that email. That email turned into phone calls. We met the day after I finished my thesis. And 3 months later, we were engaged. And 8 months later, we were married. The rest is history, as they say. But really, it was a miracle in its own way. And we've both, maybe as couples who meet each other a little bit later in life, we often talk about, well, what would have it felt like if we'd met 10 years before? How it could have been different. And yet, how amazing that we did. How amazing that we did. And the truth is that most of us experiences miracles in one or several areas of our life at different periods of our life during the decades that we are in this world. And it doesn't always happen when we would like it to happen or exactly as we wish it to happen, but they happen. And when they do, they transform our lives and we don't look back. They transform the lives of nations, of peoples, of humanity. And so this story that we read every year, that we see every year in our Torah, the story of the ark and of the flood, all of humanity evil and Noah is saved by God by building the ark. And that story of the rains beginning to fall, torrential rains unlike anything we can imagine, the whole world engulfed in the water. And there's just this boat caught in the midst of this great big storm for days and days on end. And then finally the rains do stop. In the middle of the waters, Noah first sends a raven out and then a dove out to see, have the waters abated. The first, a raven and the first dove don't return, but then a dove does return with an olive branch, as we know, a sign that becomes symbolic to us of peace. And this is the moment, one of the most striking moments of hope and of the miraculous, really, in our Torah. That amidst the rain, amidst the catastrophe of the destruction of the world, amidst humanity's evil, amidst divine displeasure, the dove becomes a symbol of hope. And that has endured, really, all this time. Incredible to think about, endured for all this time as a symbol of hope for our people and really for all of humanity, a symbol of renewal, of goodness, of humility. In our tradition, the dove becomes the bird that's offered up in the temple for those who couldn't afford to bring a larger offering, who couldn't afford to bring a sheep or larger animals. And it becomes a symbol of the rebalancing of all of life after terrible crisis, a redemption that's brought both from divine intervention, but really just through nature itself, the planet rebalancing itself. And maybe in some ways it's not even a miracle. It is just part of a natural order of the world itself. And becomes symbolic of our belief that however dark it can get, eventually light is revealed, eventually the storm ends, and new life does begin. So in the Midrash, this branch, this olive branch, comes from the Mount of Olives, and therefore it becomes linked to this core concept of Mashiach, Mashiach coming from the Mount of Olives. And what is this idea of Mashiach that we have? Mashiach is an idea that out of destruction comes reality and new hope. And really it's a symbol of our enduring belief, our Jewish belief, that there will one day be a world of peace, and that there's a power of goodness that works its way through humanity, through all the cracks, remaking until we have it right. And other midrashim say the olive branch wasn't from the Mount of Olive, but was from the Garden of Eden itself. And it tells us even as far away as we feel we are from that unity of the garden, from the interconnectedness of the garden, from the harmony, from the peace, it's really not so far away. Just one little flight away, the dove can go and bring back that branch. It's there soon be with us. And then the story offers us that further symbol. And as Noah comes out of the ark, the rainbow appears, and God talks to him and says, I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. That when I bring clouds over the earth and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and every living creature among all flesh, so that the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. And so the rainbow becomes this further sign, a natural sign, one that we see all the time, just of the beauty of the natural world and of the end of rain and storm, of the wonder of creation and of the renewal of life. It's how human beings interpret the rainbow in our core. And it's also the story of a covenant. The rainbow is a covenant. It's not just a sign. It's a covenant that we also have to work to make our world a more vibrant and kind and loving and beautiful place. We have to do our best not to let humanity descend into all of its evils that threaten that harmony. And then we also have to work to find harmony with our planet and all those dwelling on it, not destroy it. And yet there is also this promise of renewal, and this promise that despite all the troubles, quagmires that we get ourselves into, despite our human fallibility, there is a movement forward. It's amazing that right after this, we have a story straight away, as we read this morning, of human fallibility once again, the story of the Tower of Babel, and humanity making a big mistake, and it has consequences. But then God comes up with a new plan, and then Abraham comes the next chapter and starts again. And it may take a while, but as the Psalms say, 1,000 years for human beings is but an hour for God, a day for God. And so we get it right. Humanity is slow cooking. And part of the lesson of the Parsha then is that we have to hold on to hope. We have to hold on to faith, and we have to be the people of the rainbow. And we need to do our part and keep sending out the dove again and again through the open window whenever there is a storm. And to remember that the rainbows do eventually show. And as we've seen in our own lives over and over, and we've seen in the lives of humanity over. Of course, once the storm ends and the rainbow appears, we usually forget there ever was a storm. We forget what life was before. But it did happen. We need to remember that. So we have this week ahead of us here, Israel on the edge of wider war, the whole world in disarray, and just all the day-to-day difficulties each one of us faces. But we can keep holding on to that faith and that hope. We have to keep sending out the dove and believe it will find the olive branch, a branch from the Mount of Olives, from the Garden of Eden, the power of goodness inherent in the universe, to bring back a new beginning. Eventually the rainbow will come. And what we're called to do as a Jewish people, despite our history, all we've witnessed, is to be the people of the rainbow, to keep holding on to that faith and hope while leaving all the windows of the arks open to the heavens as we keep trying to find that prize of redemption. Shabbat Shalom.